Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? We're going to try again, but welcome to my photo editing live stream where you submit your images and I edit them here live for you on YouTube. And I'll be using DxO Photolab 7 uh, to, I'm just checking the audio, sorry. I'll be using DxO Photolab 7 to edit your photos. It is my preferred editor of choice. I always start with DxO Photolab 7 in any editing I do before I take it to maybe Photoshop or any other editing software I have. And of course, I have my affiliate links down below so you can download a free trial. So I recommend you do that so you can follow along and get a feel for all of the tools. If you don't have Photolab 7 now, this is a great opportunity for you to see how I use the tools to edit your photos and get a feel for what DxO Photolab can do. Um, Also, I forgot to mention next week I'll be doing another Photolab 7 live photo editing stream like this. Hopefully, you'll join me for that as well. But I'm going to have some, I'm talking to my rep about. Uh, Giving my viewers a special discount for Photolab 7 because normally you have to wait till like Black Friday or something, and the specials are kind of random sometimes during the year. So I'm going to set up something so that when you join me on my live streams, if you're interested in purchasing the DxO Photolab 7, I can get you some kind of discount. So I won't be able to do that today, but I'm going to work with him so that next week we can do that. And also, a lot of you have submitted some images here, so welcome. I appreciate that. The more images I get, the better, but I only ask that you submit one image at a time so I can get to everyone in a reasonable amount of time that I have or limited time that I have. So, uh, based on my goal here is again to show you how to use the tools in Photolab 7, give you my thought process of the images that I'll be editing, why I'm doing the things I do. And it's all very subjective. You guys may have total different opinion. And I welcome to share your thoughts in the comments section or in the chat while I'm editing. Some ideas that you'd like me to try if I'm not really hitting the vibe that you were looking for, if this is your photo, or if you have some recommendations. So I'm always open to that because this is as much of a learning process for me as it is for anybody that might be new to Photolab or editing images in general. So with that said, let me welcome back Ed and Roger and Robert. Good to see you. Um, so in my stream that I started about a half an hour ago or an hour ago, it's a total failure. But we did get through one photo, but I wasn't able to display it. So I should be able to do that now. So I think everybody is seeing what I'm seeing now, which is the original image um, submitted here from looks like Murat. So thank you, Murat, for sending this photo. I I did edit it already, so I'm just going to go to the edited image here. And what I decided is because the image was fairly monochromatic to begin with, it was basically sort of this yellow from black to, from black to white, but then only there was really only yellow color in between. So I converted it to black and white primarily for that reason. And then I wanted to emphasize the highlights on the steps here and also on the railing here. And then I was also very conscious of the corners here. I wanted the railing to come up from the right corner and then the roof line here coming in from the top left corner. Because if we look at the original image, you can see that there's a lot of perspective errors and corrections that I had to do. And I did that simply using the perspective correction tool. But other than that, I really didn't have to do much. It's a really nice photo. Um, the feeling I get is I wanted this to feel like someone is leaving the depths of like sadness and going into the light. I don't know. I'm not a very good, I can't really articulate things well about the feelings that I'm having when I look at a photo. But this is a little more optimistic photo in general when somebody is walking into the light versus going into the shadows. So that's kind of why I chose because Murad had submitted two of them, and this is the one of the two. This is the one I chose. Okay. Also, just someone let me know in the comment section that the audio and video looks good, that the roof line here, you should be able to see some textures here in between the framing of the glass overhead here. But I think everything should be looking good. I'm just going to double check real quick myself on YouTube. So once we get past this, uh, we will get started with the next image. So let me get through the ad here. Okay, everything looks good. All right, so let's go to the next image here. Thank you, Ed. Uh, let's um, let's see. We have a lightning here. This was submitted by Peter Blackett on a Canon EOS R6. Oh, nice. Um, so whenever I see images of like uh, outside, the white balance is always, particularly in scenes like this, white balance is always tricky. So I know I'm going to have to change the white balance. I'll probably want to bring out the textures in the clouds, and the lightning is completely blown out. So we're not going to be able to do much with that other than, make sure that they stand out from the background. And also, I want to straighten this horizon. So I've already applied the optical corrections and noise reduction to all of the images, just as a default. That's what I always do first. And there's a standard preset for that in Photolab to do that. But let me go ahead and start with the horizon. If I click the auto tool, auto rarely works. Yeah, if I click auto, yeah, that worked that time. Okay, good. So we're good there. So now we got a good horizon. And compositionally, I think it's a little bit too wide. So generally, the first thing I like to do when I'm editing is find a composition that I like within the frame. Because, we don't always get to have the lens that we need when we're in the field. So I want to make sure I include both of these lightning strikes. Not too worried about up here. I don't know if that makes sense right there. Okay, and then for white balance, for night shots and things, I like to just select daylight for white balance because at night, and it all depends on the mood that you want, but at night, white balance can be shifted very cool sometimes or sometimes too warm, depending on what the camera thinks it's looking at. So I always like to just set it to daylight uh, as a start, and then I'll adjust it if I didn't like that. I can adjust it, but daylight's usually a good place to start. And I'm going to select the camera profile here that DxO has built in. Again, this is a very monochromatic image so far. But let me see what we have in the shadows. Okay, we got some good detail down there. Um, question is, do we want to? Yeah, well, I'll take a little foreground. Foreground is always a good to have. So let me start working with some local adjustments. Um, and see if I can bring out some of the details here and pull the highlights back a little bit. So I'm going to go to a linear gradient here. We'll just do that. I'm going to move the dropper here into the sky. So the red area is what the mask is going to be, it's the masking and what it's going to affect in the image. So let's go ahead and pull some of the highlights in. See if we can bring some of the details in the cloud. See if we can bring some of the details in the cloud. So clear view and micro contrast is really good at bringing details out. And then I want to see if I'm going to add a new linear gradient here, but this time I'm going to highlight or start in the very bright areas. And I'm going to move this dropper around until the masking highlights the areas that I want to mask. Let me bring this down. Right in here. So right now it's masking too much, so I'm going to increase the luminance to kind of narrow that down. Okay, that's good. So let's pull the highlights back just a little bit. Like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right. Getting a little bit of haloing down here, so let me see see if I can pull this up. So it's not that one. See where this haloing is coming from. Right there. Okay, good. So we got those two. And I'm going to start another local adjustment here, just around the lightning. And just brighten that up a tiny bit. Just a little bit of a glow. And we'll cool that off a tiny bit. Let me check the mask here. Yeah. That's what I want. So that's a bit strong, but that's okay, because what I'm going to do is just bring the brightness of the shadows down a bit. Maybe right in here. Bring this off. Go back and put this back in. Maybe add a little bit of clarity. All right. I'm just doing a quick comparison before and after. So this is the before. Okay. We have noise reduction, everything turned on. And the sky is a little bit too purple. There's a little bit too much magenta. So maybe if I pull that back just a tiny bit, just to make the sky a little bluer, make this a little bit darker. And then go back to this local adjustment. Make this one a little smaller. It's not really giving me the effect that I want. Yeah, that's a little better. All right, let's do one more over here. Just a tiny bit of brightness. Just to give a little more dynamic to the scene. That might be too much. All right, I think I'm done. So let me export that. DxO 95. And then we'll do a quick comparison before and after. And once that exports, Randy, oh my goodness. How are you, Randy? You just got the DxO. That's great. Yeah, it's a great software. I love our great photo editor. I love it. All right, so let's do a quick comparison. So a lot of things that people don't realize with DxO Photo 7 is you can compare directly with the finished image. So what I'm going to do is reset this one and just compare it directly against the final image. So there's the before and after. And if I hit the F9 key, it'll close the panel so I get a little bigger view. So as you can see, it's quite a bit of difference here. So we brought out the foreground, we straightened the horizon, and then we adjusted the white balance so it looks a little more natural, I think. And this is a terrific shot. It really is. So let me go ahead and do a full screen on this one. So you can see, I wonder if I can turn my little face off. Yeah. So there's the final image. That looks really nice, I think. Um, if I spent a little more time, I would probably work on some of the. I'm getting some very mild haloing in here, and that's probably because I pushed one of the highlight sliders a little bit too much. But other than that, I think we're okay. All right, let's go to the next one. And this is another one from Peter. It's pretty much the same thing, so I'm going to skip this one. And then this one here, this is a image from Anthony, which has already been cropped and edited. So this image here, the only thing I would change is I like warmer colors. I get it when it's cold. Sometimes you want cooler colors, but I would prefer warmer colors. But it's very difficult to do on a JPEG. Once all the colors are kind of baked in, and I'll just show you. If I try to correct the white balance to something that I find a little more pleasing, it's okay, but you know, the colors are kind of jacked up when you start messing with colors and JPEGs or highlights and shadows. There's not a lot you can do. Um, I might do a perspective correction just to straighten that out, and go back here. I'm just going to adjust it a little bit this way. I didn't want to quite warm it up that much, and I doubt I'll be able to bring back any of the clarity, but we'll see. I call it clarity because I used Lightroom for so many years, but in DxO they call it Clearview Plus. Yeah, I can't. There's not much I can bring back in here. So that's all I would do is if I had the raw image, I like the crop and the composition overall, but I would fix the white balance a bit so I get more of a sunset glow, and then try and emphasize the sky and the textures in the clouds. But other than that, is pretty much all I can do because it's a JPEG. And then this one here is from Peter. Oh, okay. So I guess this is his edit of another image, and excellent job bringing the detail out in the clouds. And let me see what I'm getting some banding and stuff on my screen. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Look, like I said, there's a little bit too much banding in here, so I don't know if that's what he saw on his computer monitor, but on mine, I'm getting a lot of banding here in the sky. And unfortunately, this is JPEG, so I can't correct for that. But basically, you were compressing too much in the highlights and shadows, so you need to work on, uh, doing less adjustments, and then it's probably you're having a color space problem too. Either this color space is not RGB. Let me see if there's. Let me try P3. No, Adobe. My guess is that this was not exported in RGB, or you were editing in the wrong color space, so that when you exported this image, all of this banding is happening. So that's something I'll have to talk about maybe in another video, because this is not an uncommon problem when people are working with more advanced editors. And color space can be very confusing when you're editing. What color space are you editing on? What color space are you exporting to? And what color space work soft proofing. Like, I have the soft proofing button over here that I like to use, so that I'm always working within the colors that most people are going to see, and that I get, if any banding is going to happen, I'm going to see it happening. But yeah, I love lightning pictures. I can never get one. One, because we don't get a lot of lightning storms out here, and then two is I feel I'm always scared. Like I'm setting up a tripod. It feels like I'm poking three lightning rods into the ground. Okay, so let's go to Garrett's image. Let's see. Looks very nice here. Nice portrait. And I guess the composition is interesting because there's a lot of negative space above, and certainly that was intentional. But for me, when I leave a lot of uh, space above, I would rather the subject look into the space, uh, looking up into it like this, rather than kind of off to the side. But anyway, I'm not a portrait photographer, so I won't say much more than that. And this is also a JPEG image, so I'm not sure how much I can do. When you guys send me a JPEG images, I'm very, limited to the editing I can do, other than maybe some cropping. So yeah, I like to do portraits and square crop. And again, this is a purely a subjective choice. And if I go to black and white, that'll help some in terms of editing. And then I'll add a vignette. Let's soften that up a bit. Okay. And let's make it a little bit grittier by You know me, I like dramatic tones and things, right? So I'm going to try and accentuate the tones on the face here and the skin. And then let's crank up. No, that's too much. I feel like I feel like we got a slight tilt here. I'm just going to move this over just a little bit. Okay. So far so good. And let's just do a couple of local adjustments on the eyes. So I'm going to, I like to just add clear view to the eyes. It just gives them a little bit more gloss, and then brighten those up a tiny bit. Oops, that's too much. I don't want his eyes to be glowing, but let's see. Yeah, let's back that off a tiny bit here. Okay, and then the hat needs a little bit of work because I think I see a little bit of detail here on the brim that I can bring out. So I'm going to add a new control point. And let's see if I can just add a little bit of light to the front of the hat. Okay. Maybe a little bit here. Yeah, just a touch. Um, I think now I need to fix the vignette a tiny bit. And I'm going to see if I can do one more, this time with a linear gradient, just to there, because there's a little bit of texture in the background. uh, you know what I think that is? I think the backdrop is just wrinkled, and that was probably not intentional. So if anything, you probably want to minimize that. So you can minimize that by reducing the contrast and things, so that the micro contrast and contrast will minimize sort of wrinkles in your backdrop if you have any. So over here, we have a very similar thing going on. So that'll minimize it. Let me add a little bit up here and maybe a little bit right in here. Okay. So we've minimized the backdrop. We've added a little more texture to the skin. Let me see if I can do just a little bit more on the skin. So what I'm going to do is get rid of this shine on the nose. And the way I do that is I just use the repair tool here, drop the opacity down to like 50% or less, and then just come in on the nose and draw a line there. And that should soften it. So it'll soften it without taking the detail away. I don't think I need to take anything else. Other than that, really good lighting. All right, so we'll call it there. So let's do a before and after. So there's the before and after, and like I said, I think it works better as a black and white because again, we're really dealing with a monochromatic image. There's really just these skin tones. The backdrop is kind of a skin tone, and then we go from black to white. Uh, what I might do is actually maybe a little more contrast on the image. Let me let me go back here. I'm just going to add some global contrast like this with the clear view. No, that's too much. Push the highlights a little bit because the image is a little bit dark for my taste. All right. All right, let's do a comparison now. All right, there we go. We're all done. So light up the eyes a little bit, add some texture and tones to the skin, and fix the wrinkles in the background. Oh, by adding the contrast, you can kind of see the wrinkles in the background again. So I would have to go over it again with another local adjustment and soften those up again. But I think you guys get the idea, so I won't waste time doing that again. That looks pretty good. Uh, I'll do. Let me just go to a full screen on the final edit here. Oops. Okay, very nice. So let's go to the next one here from this is from Lasse. Hey, Lasse, long time viewer here. Okay, so we have a suburban scene, and as you can see, it's a very busy scene. And as I said before, you don't always have the lens of choice when you're out taking a picture of a scene, but there might be something in here that you really like and want to capture, and then you have to kind of crop and post. At least that's the sense that I get from this image. And when I'm looking at a scene, excuse me, I try to minimize duplicate elements. I mean, if there's repeating patterns and things, that's a whole different compositional type idea, right? But for an image like this, I want to try and, there's not like really repeating patterns and things like that. There's just a lot of duplicate information in the image, and we don't need to convey the same thing over and over again. Like we have a fence here and a fence here. We have a light, a street lamp here, a street lamp here, another one, or part of one here. And then we have three kind of homes that are kind of the same. And the only thing really distinctive in this image is this one vehicle here. So we're going to include that. We're going to include the mailboxes because this is where you have sort of a repeating pattern element in the composition. So that adds some, excuse me, that'll add some visual interest. Uh, so I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep these two elements in here, and then try and minimize everything else because there's nothing else in here that isn't captured just in this one little area. So let's just crop in. And then again, I'm always conscious of the corners. I like the corners to kind of lead into the scene somehow. Let's try. Let's try that. That's kind of there. I don't think perspective, yeah, we'll do a quick perspective correction to straighten the lines. All right, and then in terms of contrast, meaning adding some dynamic lighting to the scene, everything is, it's kind of midday, so the shadows are straight down. So we're not getting a lot of, you know, opportunities here to add a dynamic contrast. Unlike the scene with the lightning, where the lightning can be used to add some dynamic contrast to the scene. Uh, this one here, because the sun is almost straight down, we're not going to get a natural looking, dynamic scene. So, uh, I don't know if I can really add any. Let me try. Let me just look at a monochrome version real quick. Yeah, that doesn't really help it. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that. And I think on white balance, we're good. Yeah, white balance is fine. I could tweak it a little, but I think we're okay. So let me see if I can bring some of the details in the clouds in. So I'm going to use a linear mask here. Let me come down a little bit more. I'm going to put this up here. I don't want to bring it down too much. Okay. It's a little bit there. And let's do some global adjustments. Let me bring the shadows up a tiny bit. Maybe make the overall scene a little brighter. And then I'm going to work on these mailboxes. So let me do a local adjustment here. And just see if I can make at least the mailboxes kind of interesting. So yeah, that's looking better. Okay, so now the mailboxes are kind of the brightest thing in the scene. Almost. Let me actually brighten them up a bit more. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing maybe with the vehicle over here. Looks like a Volkswagen Tiguan. It's actually a vehicle I was thinking about getting at one time. Just going to brighten it up as well. Because these are the two most interesting things in the scene. So I'm trying to make them stand out more than everything else. Uh, okay, good. All right, now what to do with all these trees and grass? I think let me look at black and now. Black and white is just not cutting it. The only thing black and white does is it does allow me to kind of mute the tones of the greens and the foliage all around. But I think I can do that. Let me go back to color. Yeah, let me just pull the yellows and greens down a bit. Well, this channel mixer, I think you only get that when you get film packs, so I'll do it with the color wheel instead. So let me just pick an area in here and just pull the luminance down, pull the saturation back. Because I don't want the colors to take your eyes away from the two things that I'm interested in. And then let me see if there's some additional local adjustments I can do. Just on the street. Just want to give the street a little bit more flavor as well. Right in there. Right there. So now the mailboxes are kind of reflecting onto the street. Making the sides, before and after a little bit darker. I think that's all I can do here. Okay, we'll call it. So let me export this. Let me just look at it black and white one more time. I don't think that works. I think just muting the overall tones works best here. Maybe pull. I'm just going to push the highlights a bit. Just a basic S curve. All right. Ah, what the heck has happened to my shadows here? Why did this turn all ugly? Hold on. Let me export that again. This is the original. Oh, all right. Yeah, this is the edited image, but I accidentally deleted it. Well, anyway, here's the final image back from the original. I don't know. I deleted the original by mistake. But here's the final edited image. Guess that's okay. I would soften it up a little bit more. But again, my idea was just emphasize the mailbox and this vehicle and de-emphasize everything else. So I added a little bit of light here to lead the eye into the shadow or into the mailboxes, and the mailbox is also reflecting light. And then the car is what it is. All right. Looks like this is part of a trail or something because there's a little map here. Interesting. Okay, let's go to the next one. And let's see, we have a bumper car. It looked like these are bumper cars. When I first looked at it, I thought maybe it was a disco, but then, okay. So again, I'm going to make a crop here because there's just there's a lot of repeating patterns here, which I want to keep, but then at the same time, there's a lot of duplicate information that I don't want. So let me just get the line straight with a perspective correction. And let's see if we can just narrow this down to actually, there's some good symmetry in this image. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at this line here. I'm trying to center it on this one rectangle. And I don't need the reflections down here. I almost don't need the reflections. That's a little bit too tight though. I think right in here is about right. No, maybe a little more framing by giving the bottom a black border. No, that looks like it's just cut off. So we'll go right in here. Okay, let's see. I want to bring out some of the detail in the highlights and maybe push the color a little bit. So let me go to the global color. And let's do daylight white balance. Okay. And then we can, the blues are a bit strong actually, so I will just go right there, 5500 Kelvin. All right, let's work with some local adjustments. So up here in the top area here, I don't want to remove or clear up any of the haze or fog, but I do want to try and bring some of the more detail out in these lights. So I'll pull that down a tiny bit, add a little bit of clear view, maybe just a little bit, then a ton of micro contrast. There we go. I think that brings out some of the detail in the ceiling. I like this one ray of light over here. If I, yeah, I think that's good enough. Okay. Now let's look at some global adjustments. What if I bring the blacks in and silhouette this person? Push the midtones. Okay, let me go back to local adjustments. And what I want to do is just create a little bit of a rim lighting on her. See if I can do this like that. Let me fill in this area. Okay. I'm going to erase this haloing in here. Okay. Can I accentuate that more? Just a little bit. Maybe use. And I'll just feather out the interior here. Oh, that didn't feather too well. Let me change the opacity. So flow opacity, let's change it down to 22%. Try that. One more time. All right, that's good. Okay, I think I'm done. Didn't have to do much. Just a slight crop. And I don't know about this corner here. Maybe just remove this element. Okay, good enough. Maybe a little bit of contrast. Oh, we're good. All right, so let me export that. And that'll just take a second, then we'll do a quick comparison. Oof, I have to reset it. All right, so here's the edit here on the left and the original on the right. So mostly it's a cropping job, right? Just getting rid of, I didn't like the lights up here. Uh, so I just kind of cropped and centered it a little bit. So I centered it on this square here. And then now I have two equal squares on the right and left side. And it just so happens this girl happened to be center, rule of thirds kind of thing, which is fine. Uh, and then I wanted to accentuate some of the light rays coming off the lights. So I think that's all this really needed. The lighting and the haze and everything else, there's not much you can do there other than make sure you keep it because you want to keep the atmosphere. But I think that looks okay. Just curious what um anyway, there we go. Where's my palette? Let's go to the next one. Thank you so much for sending that in. Let's see, we have a fireworks one here. So, let's go over here. I doubt the horizon. Yeah, let's just make sure the horizon's straight, and it probably is, but all right, there we go. Nice straight horizon. Just there's way too much sky here, so I'm going to uh crop it. And it looks like you're using the 12 to 100, so you could have done this in camera. But we really don't need all this extra, negative space up here or down here for that matter. I think we can just go right in here. Okay, so that's a little more balanced. Oh, come in a little bit more. Okay, let's see. For white balance, let me check just daylight. Ooh, that's a little bit cool. Warm it up some more. Use eyedropper and just pick a cloud. Let's see. Oh, now it looks like sunset. That's probably a bit too much, but we do want to be in that general area, I think. Somewhere in here. Back off the magenta a tiny bit. Okay. Now let's do some local adjustments. Let's see if we can bring some of the color back in the fireworks. So we will just exposure there. Yeah, they're overexposed a bit. But let's try and just give it a little more color. I'm going to set the white balance closer to daylight on the fireworks. Okay. All right, that's good. And then do the same thing down here. Ooh, not the exact same thing. But let's make this brighter. Add some clarity. Okay. All right, this sky, I'm gonna try over here. Let's bring this whole left side up a little bit brighter and warm it up. Just give it that more of that. More of that sunset type look. Yeah, a little bit brighter. Hence, I need to make this one darker. Okay. Go back here. And then let's do the opposite on the lower right side. Okay. I think I'm done there. I see Randy said says a vertical crop in the fireworks Shadow does not match the water reflection. That's true, but this is a raw image, so it's not a composite. So this reflection, I'm not sure where this is coming from. It must be coming off. That is interesting. It must be, I mean, it's a raw image, so that light is coming from the fireworks. I just need to um, just kind of give it the same glow, I guess, a little bit like that. And then the only other option is maybe doing a vertical crop. So I'm going to make a virtual copy and see what that looks like. Yeah, that works too. I think that looks pretty good because this is the horizontal crop. I wanted to include the line here, the shore with these buildings, but it works really actually. I think it does work a little better as a vertical. Uh, if I just put the fireworks higher in the sky, relatively speaking, that works too. So either way, I think both of those look good. So let's just do a quick comparison. Whoops. Uh, so there's the before and after. This is the vertical version, and then here is give that a second. This was my original thought was to go, horizontal, right? Landscape. So now we're seeing the line here, the city or the shore. God, the docks, whatever these are, apartment buildings, storefronts, etc. Um, to me, that's part of the information in the scene. But if you want to make it about the fireworks, going with the vertical makes more sense. So we will just do a full screen of that. Okay, very nice. Let's go to the next one here. Now you like the horizontal crop, Randy? You're funny. And then Ed says, let's see. Billy says it too. Let's see, where are we at? I think I have time. I've only been at this for about an hour, so go ahead and upload it. Billy, if you want, I should be able to get to it. And then Ed says, mostly it is Rob does some search prior to doing these settings. Mostly it is. Rob does some research prior to doing these settings, but just throw it in, see how far he gets. It's up to Rob anyway. Okay. Um, yeah, and then Randy liked the horizontal crop better. It's a tough call. I think it can go good either way. All right, so we have image here from Anthony, also a very long-time follower. Okay, and Anthony lives way up north somewhere where it's cold all the time. And there's these icebergs. He sends me some iceberg pictures time to time via email. Uh, but this is the first one I'm editing. So I had this person in the scene down here. Normally that normally that would give some scale to the image, but it just doesn't seem to work here. Uh, if you want to give scale to the image, like by using a person, they should be on the iceberg, right? But when they're up here in the front, and they're not doing anything very interesting, really. They're just kind of walking across the rocks. So there's really two pictures here in my mind, right? There's one down here with the person in it, and then there's one up here with these rocks here in the foreground framing the iceberg. So I like the top part better than the bottom. So I think that's where I'm going to go with my crop. And I'm going to go super wide, 16 by 7, and just go up here. I think that makes a more interesting crop there. And I'm curious, let's stay with color, but we just need to kind of give it a little more definition in contrast. And then let's set the white balance. The white balance is a little bit off to this side here. Okay. And let me do a radial gradient or linear gradient here on the rocks. I don't want to affect the iceberg too much. And this time I'm going to do a color masking or chroma masking, because I don't want to affect the water. And then luma masking, I'm going to do it solely for the rocks, because I want to have a little bit more dynamic range in the rocks. All right, good. So let me pull or push the rocks, and just pull the blacks in. What if I warm it up a little bit? Mm. I mean, it's one of those things where you try to make the foreground a little bit warmer. Again, it's very subjective, but something's not looking right. Okay. And then let's see what I can do in this iceberg. And I'm going to do a color mask again on the iceberg. And bring these in a bit. See if I can make that iceberg stand out a bit. Add some micro contrast. Okay, go back here. I want this to be even more dramatic. All right, I think that's good. Let's do a quick comparison. All right, so there's the before and after. Again, I think this image can be split into two. Together, it didn't quite work for me. And then I just went super wide crop, right? 16 by 7. And I think that looks good because I like how these rocks are framing this one iceberg. I think that works pretty well. And we'll just do a full screen. Yep, very nice. Looks like I can. Oh, I forgot I got this slider thing. You can see the difference, right? That this makes with a little bit of editing. Like I really wanted the rocks to have much more contrast. Oops. But okay. What else is in there? All right. Let's go to the next one. Wow, another iceberg scene, but this time we have some foreground. Unfortunately, it's out of focus. So the focus point looks like it's right here. And then it's out of focus here, due to depth of field. What an interesting iceberg. It's a shame it's not in focus. But I think the crop needs to be right in this frame. Again, I need to tighten this crop up a lot because this foreground being out of focus, it just doesn't work for me. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. Let's do the crop, and we'll do another wide crop, 16:7. And we'll just go with, I mean, these logs down here are kind of interesting. I don't know if I can crop that much. This feels a little out of balance. Let me move over. Okay, so I think that works more. And then we will sort of do the same thing. I think, let me just check the white balance. I'm going to pick the side that the sun is hitting over here. Okay, very, very subtle difference there. And then let's add some global clarity or clear view. And then we'll do a little bit on the local side. So I'll just use the radial gradient and pull these in, push the highlights. I'll make a new control point on these icebergs. Tighten up the masking via luminance, color and luminance. Okay, and then give it a little bit more drama there with the clear view. Maybe some contrast. Okay, I think I'm done with that one. So we'll do a quick comparison again. So here's the image on the left, and then, the original, and then the edit on the right. And I'll go to full screen. But I like I like the idea of including some foreground, but to add layering and depth to the image. Uh, but in for me, it would need to be in focus, generally speaking, unless it's acting as some sort of framing for the overall image. But it doesn't frame this iceberg very well. And I would have probably used a higher aperture, like at least 5.6 or f8. Let me see what you're at, because this is an EM1. Yeah, you're at f2.5 on a 75 millimeters. So yeah, I would have shot at probably f8 and tried to get more things in focus. So you probably could have focused, right on this whatever this thing is, and compositionally change a little. But anyway, this is the final edit. So I think there's a nice balance here from the left to the right. The two icebergs kind of offset the weight of the rocks on the right side. And the horizon's straight, I'll give you that. All right, let's look at the next one here. And let's see, we got some plants, and this is very similar to that other image that Lasse sent, this one here, where there's a lot of things that are repeating, but there's not like a repeating pattern, so to speak. There's a little bit of a repeating pattern in here, but for the most part, it's just duplicate information, right? Duplicate shells and rocks. So I want to try and minimize this scene again. And let's do a square crop and just pick these elements over here. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Maybe not 1 by 1. Let's go back to 4 by 3. Okay, so I think this minimizes the image to just the core elements of a couple rocks and some shells with this one plant. And let's do white balance a little bit. I don't know where we need to be. Maybe right in there. And let's see if the camera profile looks any better. EM5 Mark III, a tiny bit. Let's push some of the colors here with just vibrancy. Add a little bit of dynamic range to the scene. And I'm going to push the greens and reds a little bit. So let me go to the greens, just saturate that, and then pick the reds and saturate that. Okay, then do it globally. Let's pull back the vibrancy that I originally had. Maybe even reduce the saturation a tiny bit. Okay. And let's see, how about a soft focus? Just a little bit. Just to take a little bite off the image because it's very strong. Let me double check the crop. And okay, I think that works. So let's just do a quick comparison again. So yeah, I just I just felt like there was just nothing over here on the right side that wasn't on the left side. And the left side had this big rock, which is the most interesting thing in the image, along with the repeating patterns of this plant. So I just tried to minimize to the core elements that I found interesting in the image. And of course, the shells and these rocks down here. So we ended up with this one. And then again, just trying to increase the dynamic range of the scene by crushing the blacks and pushing the highlights and midtones. And then a slight softening effect, just so it's not so harsh, because it is it because there's so many things in here, it's a little bit harsh. So I wanted to soften it a bit, and that's the final image I came up with. All right. Um, Next one here. We have one here from John Follows. Wow, John has been with me a long, long time. Let's see. We have Upper Mill Viaduct. Okay. So good job overall with the composition. I like this corner. I like this front and center. But I think I would have, wow, it'd be hard to do. What were you shooting with? The Z6 and a 28. And you shot at 43. I'd have probably shot this scene a little bit wider, but I wasn't there, so I don't know what's around the scene. But I would have shot a little wider to get more of the left side of the bridge. Anywho, let's just do a quick perspective correction and straighten the lines. Let's do square. So that this line is straight, but this line, this has got some weird geometry to it. But I'm gonna lean over to the left side because the left side has the left side doesn't have anything but this brush. But the right side, this is where all the action seems to be. So we need to maybe right there. Okay. There's decent color, but this shot kind of begs to be black and white. But I'm not I'm not sure black and white is the way to go. I don't know. I think that there's some tones in here that we can bring out. I wonder. Yeah, there's some oranges. Stretch that a bit. And then let's go to the yellows and pull those back a little bit. Well, if I increase them, that's interesting. But then, yeah, I think muting the yellows a little bit is better. Maybe even shifting them a little bit green, just a tiny bit. Okay. And push that. Let's go back to the oranges. Make the orange bricks a little darker. Okay. Now the greens, I think the greens are okay, but I'll push them a little bit too. All right, let's see if there's anything I don't think there's anything in the sky to save here, but I'm just gonna do a quick spot check with the clear view. Yeah, there's nothing really going on there. So let's get rid of those. The only thing I'm thinking about is maybe getting rid of this corner here. But I don't think I can do that because this side is, we're really up on the edge on that side. Let me look at the cropping again. Because if I come all the way down this way, yeah, that sucks. This is better. And I will double check black and white. I don't know. I feel like black and white's got more potential, maybe. If I can just give it a little bit more grit. Okay. Okay, I see a little bit of light in here. So I'm just going to exaggerate it just a tiny bit. And bring the exposure down. All right. Now I'm getting a feel for it. Let's do a little bit there and a little bit here. And let's pull. Why is I need to create a new one? Sorry. Plus sign. Let's pull this whole area in here darker. Like that. Control line. Put a spot there. And then let's do a little spot, one more spot over here. How about that one? Yeah. Okay, and then one last thing is the crop. Right there. All right, I think I'm done. Um, so there's the before and after. So again, this left side was just, just not interesting at all. So I just went right over here. And then when I started editing, I could see where the light was kind of coming, like particularly right in here. So I just exaggerated that, and then I minimized the lighting all around it to uh, to make sure your eye stays right in here in the middle. So I think that works. Okay, let me check. I think someone said they were going to send an image. I'll do one more and then we'll call it. Uh, so let's go there. Oh, looks like there's a couple new ones. Eric's got one, so I'll do that one. So here's one from Bill. It looks like a dog or something. And uh, then one from Eric, real quick. Download. Okay. Open this folder. Let me just get them into the right folder and we'll get started. Okay. So where did they drop? All right, so we have one here from Bill. I love that. Wow. Not a whole lot to do with this image. It's pretty good as is, but let me just check the lines and crop it to a square. Not square. Let's do 3 by 2 and see how far we get. I want to try and put the dog right in the center. Pretty close. Okay. This mirror. Hold on. Okay, very good. And we'll do a couple of local adjustments. Let me just apply. I need to apply an optical correction. I forgot to do that. 1 second. Okay. And distortion, and then fix the crop. All right. And is that centered? Is he centered more or less? Okay. This mirror. Okay, let's do some local adjustments now. So I'm just going to go about a quarter stop, maybe even a full stop there. A little bit more drama. Let's fix the sky here. And then we'll just make it a little bit gritty. Some micro contrast. Tiny bit of clear view. All right, almost there. Okay, so let's do a before and after. Oh, oops. So there's the before and after. So basically, I just straightened it so it looks like you're more eye level with the dog, and that's why I put it kind of front and center. Then I brightened the dog up by about a stop to bring them out more in the scene, so they stand out a little bit more against the rest of the scene. And then I just kind of made it gritty because I wanted to emphasize all of the graphics. So just adding some micro contrast makes it stand out more. So I like that. Yeah, great shot though. I love it. All right, let's go to the one from Eric. Where is it? I think it's this one. Yeah. All right, so we have some sort of oh, you're welcome, Billy. I'm glad you liked it. Um, let's see. Wow, what kind of weirdo marina is this where the boats almost look like they're below sea level. Either that or these are sunk. Look at this boat and then look at this boat. How is that possible? What does that say? Private something. Okay, so this is tripping me up. How is this boat so much lower than this one? Anyway, all right, you'll have to let me know. Is that boat sunk? How is the sea level here lower? It's not lower because the sea level's right here. You can see it. It's weird. I've never seen that before. But anyway, okay. So this is another one that screams to be cropped, right? So what did you shoot? 12 to 40. You got to be. Oh, you're 29. F5.6. So all the settings look good. I would have just zoomed in all the way to 40 because I have to crop this. So let me just apply a basic preset, denoise and optical correction. And then let's do a wide crop. I don't know if the horizon can be straightened. Not really. Horizon's pretty straight, but it just a slight tilt. I don't know. Do I put this at the bottom? I think I'll go this way. Because the water's so choppy, I didn't want to just, cut your eyes out with the water. So let's do a radial gradient and see if I can bring out some of the sky like that. And let's work on this boat. So we'll add a new, sorry, I meant to say linear gradient over here. Then we'll do these radial gradients on the boat. So I'm going to do a little bit by color because there's good contrast, because I want to separate the boat from the water and just bring the exposure up, a little bit of clear view, some contrast, maybe even push the vibrance. Okay. Um, that's good on that. Man, I don't like this barge over here, whatever this is. Wonder if I can just erase that. Yeah, that'll work. Move it down. Okay. And this just needs a little bit more clarity. Okay. Is there enough detail to work with that? No. I'm trying to see if even a tighter crop might be an option, but it's really not. All right, so I think that's what I would do. Um, let's do a comparison here. All right, so there's the before and after. So again, I probably would have zoomed in more. And yeah, I don't know what this barge is. This is just weird. And then just went with a wide crop. So if we look at the full image, um, I think that looks better. Wow, really cool. Overall, the scene is really cool. I love this boat. I love that boat. Okay. Think we're done here. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for submitting those images. I had a great time editing those, and hopefully you picked up a few tips on how to use DxO Photolab 7 and my thought process when I'm editing, right? And also, actually, when I'm out in the field, I didn't really talk too much about exactly what I would do differently if I was in the field. other than, I would probably zoomed in more if I had the option, because it looked like some of you had the zoom lenses, but you didn't zoom in to the same crop that I would. But again, it's all very subjective. Hopefully I didn't butcher your images too much, far off from what you intended them to be. But um, either way, I hope this was just an educational experience more so than a lesson on composition and all of that. But I will be back again next week, so look for the live stream ahead of time so you can start submitting your images, or just use the same link over and over again. I don't change that link. You can always submit images to that one link. And again, try to just submit one image at a time and submit the raw images if you can. I can work with JPEGs, but generally I'll have to convert them to black and white because there's not much wiggle room in terms of editing. But you guys have been great. Thanks again, and I will see you again soon.